Hello, and welcome to another episode of Wheel of Horror, the podcast where two best friends spin a wheel once a week. It chooses the horror movie, and they discuss it. Today, we're talking about the 2019 film Midsommar, which was directed by Ari Aster. I'm your co-host, Alec.
I'm Erik.
And today, we have a very special guest. We have my mom, Dina Lawless.
Hi, guys.
You're joining us for probably one of the most messed up movies we've ever done on the show. But yeah, welcome to the show, Mom.
Thank you.
Before anything, I just kind of wanted to ask you, you kind of got me into horror movies a little bit. I mean, you definitely more than Dad like horror movies more. So I kind of wanted to ask you, what is your relationship with horror? What got you into it? Because I don't really see Grandma and Papa being too into horror movies.
No, I think the first horror movie I ever watched was Friday the 13th back in early 80s, and I was hooked. It was
Yeah.
nothing I'd ever seen before and kind of got me,
Was it Kevin Bacon? It was
Yes.
Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
He did it for me too.
Yeah.
He got me hooked.
Yeah, and it just snowballed from there.
And did you see that in theaters or?
No, actually on VHS. We had just gotten our recorder and we rented it, and yeah, back in the 80s, that's what we did.
I didn't know that was your first one too, because Dad
Yeah.
also has a crazy story about him seeing that in theaters, and it traumatized him to the point where he was begging Grandma for I guess to erase his memory or something like that.
I think my first is probably, honestly, first thing that scared me movie wise was Killer Clowns from Outer Space when I was really little. But
Yeah.
that's what I can think for as bad. First horror movie, I don't even know what my first horror movie I saw.
You remember that one, right, Mom? The Killer Clowns from Outer Space?
Yeah, I've never seen it.
It's a joke movie,
Yeah.
but when you're 4 or 5 as a kid and see it on TV, you just run away and scream at the music. That's what it was for me.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But you love horror now. I mean, you were always texting me oh, have you seen this one? Or do you have a favorite now?
Well, honestly, I love Ari Aster's films. I mean, he's only done 2 of them as of now, but I love Hereditary. I love Midsommar. So as of now, those are the 2 most recent ones I would say that I really, really enjoyed.
Yeah, these are both brand new. I mean, this one came out 2 years ago, and then Hereditary came out in 2018. So yeah, he's young too. He's only 35.
Yeah,
Which is
very talented.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot coming from him. So did you like this one more than Hereditary?
No, I liked Hereditary better, but I love the atmospheric feel of both of them. I don't know
Yeah.
if you guys know what it's just there's just something about both. I mean, they're 2 completely different stories, but they have the same uneasy feeling to them.
Yeah, I'd say the best way I could describe it is that he's not a one-hit wonder because he made Hereditary, which is great but different, and then this one, but it still has the same effect of after you're done watching this movie, boy, do those images just linger in your brain. I finished it late last night. Not a good movie to finish and go to bed.
No.
It's very visionary, but in a bad way, but a very kind of horror, disturbing, genius way. I don't know how else to describe it.
Yeah, disturbing is definitely the word I would use.
Lingers though, it lingers. I just think about all the bad things that happen in this movie, and it doesn't leave your memory. It really doesn't. So
I had seen it twice before, and then I watched it the other night, and I had to psych myself up. I had to be in the mood to be able to watch it because it's just so out there and disturbing. You just have to be in the right frame of mind, you know?
Yeah, I was gonna say, compared to Hereditary and this, you're right, they do both have that, they leave you feeling just gross and horrible, but Hereditary feels like, okay, this is the worst thing that could happen to a family, and
Right.
Midsommar is the worst thing that could happen to your friends and a relationship. Both 2 horrible things that can happen to you, but friends are not really a big part of Hereditary, and with the exception of Danny's family getting killed in the beginning, family's not a big part of this movie either. So he really hits the things that matter to people most.
Well, it's funny you're saying that because I got from it that it was about family
Really?
because when
Oh, yeah.
she got to the cult, I don't know for lack of a better word,
yeah.
she was very vulnerable and her family had died and her boyfriend is just like a piece of shit,
Yeah.
and she just felt accepted and the empathy that they gave her, and it was like she felt like she was home, you know?
Yeah.
She had a family.
That's true. That is true. Yeah, it is. It's the most messed up way to find a new family, basically.
Oh yeah, for
Um,
sure. What did you think about it? I know you gave a little bit, but I'm curious.
I mean, I'm gonna try not to compare it to Hereditary that much because Hereditary to me is way more scary
Yeah.
Yeah.
than this movie. This movie just has those images that stick with you. This movie is beautifully scary. Like it's in a gorgeous Sweden. I think it was filmed in Hungary or
Yeah.
Yeah.
somewhere else, and Utah was the other place, the film location I looked up for
Oh,
the American scenes. But
interesting.
I don't know how to put it. I like it. I liked it. I don't know what it really. It's like it's family, and then there's like the mental illness issue. Like she's definitely has some like PTSD from.
Oh, for sure.
And
Yeah.
you tell, hey, do you got a sleeping pill? Hey, like she asks her friend, and she's like, she has terrible anxiety. But I think another part of this is about this whole cult or commune or whatever. There's that scene at the end where she's just like has her one of her crying breakdowns. Which I mean, Florence Pugh, I can hear her crying in my head right now. She's such a
Mm.
good
Mm-hmm.
sobber. Like she
Oh, big
sobbed.
time.
Like the way she
Yes.
wailed was it's just so powerful.
It's like primal.
But there's that
Oh yeah.
scene where she does it with that group of women, and I
Yeah.
think that's where she clicks, like, this is where I want to be. I thought
Yep.
that scene was the most pivoting moment for her where she wanted to leave the whole time. Then that happened, and she's like, I'm fixed. Or like she got over her PTSD there in some way. What do you have to say? That's what I got from it. I don't know.
I was gonna say she felt validated because if you'll notice, she kept going off by herself because she
Hmm.
didn't wanna burden anybody, and she didn't
Mm,
want people to see how deeply scarred she was. But then
yeah.
when these women all, came together in a very loving, nurturing way, and it just validated her pain, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. It just shows in the beginning too when like she's crying and her boyfriend Christian, he's supposed to be there to comfort her. He's holding her and he's kind of like shh, and he's like trying to like calm her down, sort of thing.
Right.
Where these women are like encouraging her, sort of thing, to like just
Yep.
let it out. Like I want you to. We're here to let it out with you. And that's you're right. I think the Eric that is a moment where she does kind of feel like okay, maybe this is family.
There's another scene too where I think it's her and the commune friend that brought them all there, Pele or Pell.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And he like sits her down and it's just like, I lost my mom and dad too, and when I was young and they died in a fire, and it kind of went into like, oh, I can connect with people here too. I think that was a big part of it as well.
Big time. Yeah, manipulation for sure. Now, I wanted to ask you guys so this is obviously beautifully shot. It's the same director of photography as Hereditary. So, this guy, I mean, it's just a beautiful movie, like you said, Eric. But this is probably the most accurate representation of like psilocybin mushrooms I've ever seen portrayed in anything. I mean, every time you see a movie where it's like, oh, they're tripping on acid or whatever, you see like the devil pop out of the ground or you see crazy stuff. This was so accurate with the way the trees
Mm.
were breathing and
Mhm.
the shadows and the grass, everything was like this is exactly what it's like to be on mushrooms. And I want to know,
Yeah.
Mom, you've done mushrooms before, right?
No, no,
Oh,
no,
you
no. I
haven't.
did
Okay.
I did acid, I never did mushrooms.
I've
Okay.
never done mushrooms.
Okay. So if anybody's listening out there, if next time, I mean, if you've done them or whatever, this is absolutely exactly what it's like. Just it feels like you're part of everything, just like she was part of the grass. It feels like everything's breathing, kind of.
Mm,
Everything, the colors are just more vibrant. But
That's
yeah,
hard to create. That's hard to
it is.
create. Um,
very.
Yeah.
so I can see that, and like yeah, like with the grass going through her hand and her feet at one point.
Yeah.
That was I don't even know how they did that. It's 2019, but like, could you imagine something 10 years before that doing what they did? Like that'd be
It was so fake.
yeah, but it's like, oh, it's 2019. Anything can happen in movies. It's like that's really still very impressive to pull
Right.
all that off. Like, but like, did you notice? I had to read this because I looked when she becomes the May Queen and she's breathing and panting. Her
Yeah.
Mhm.
flowers on her head are also
Yes.
breathing
So
with her.
wild.
So
Yeah.
it's like now she's truly becoming part of the earth and weird. There's
Yeah.
another scene too that tripped me up was remember when that one of the friends or visitors, outsiders is like hung up with his arms like a
Oh,
like flying and
yeah.
his lungs are outside of his
The blood
Yeah.
eagle.
Yeah.
the
Oh,
blood eagle. Yeah, that's what it's called. I read that too. But you see the lungs moving.
Yes, he's still alive.
And I'm like, oh
Mhm.
man. Oh, I also saw online that people think that he wasn't alive. It was Christian imagining he was and breathing, but
Huh.
mm,
that's up to the viewer. But there's a whole thread about like there's no way your lungs would be able to move without a diaphragm, all that
no.
stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so it's like, oh, okay, maybe he was picturing that. I don't know, but that's it's just crazy what the words coming out of my mouth right now. It's to think about all that. It's just disturbingly visionary. Like in my like I can't even imagine the brain he must have to have
Mm.
that. Yeah, like it's crazy.
Yeah, very messed up. Well, even before they get to, Sweden, that whole scene with the friendship group is the tension and the cringe is, like it's so realistic, and, I mean, this whole movie just feels like a relationship that's just about to end, but, like, a real relationship. You can hear when he breathes, and he can barely say, "I love you" to her and stuff like that, like,
Yes.
it's hard to look at, but then think about it from his point of view too, where it's like, he's been trying to break up with her, and now her
Yeah.
family's just all dead, so it's like he's kinda stuck in this
Right.
situation.
She
Re
knows it too. She knows it.
Yeah, she does.
So that's the worst part is knowing that. And it's like, yeah.
Yeah, cringeworthy, but the chemistry, the acting in this is just fantastic. I mean,
Mm.
everybody is so I don't know, it feels like a real group of friends really doing this, which you don't get in a lot of horror movies.
Even before that, the first 5 minutes of the film with the sister who's bipolar and killing herself and the parents, it's like, and that scene with the firemen, and then it zooms into her with the exhaust, and I'm like, oh my god, like
Yeah, that was really intense.
that's what I'm talking about when it means like these are the images that stick with you, and but
Yes.
it not only does that, but then it shows that tube and her like again and again, like in parts of the movie, and it's like get her away from me. I don't want to think about that anymore.
Yeah.
That's what this movie does.
And the
Ugh.
soundtrack was amazing too, like you're talking about the firemen. If you notice the soundtrack at that point, it was so intense. It's like
It's violin and strings and
yeah, it's almost like as effective as the Shining soundtrack is with that
mm.
movie, you know what I mean?
I didn't really appreciate the music that much, but thinking
Mm.
back at it, yeah, if I ever do watch it again, which I might have to give it a couple months or a year, I'll try to listen to music more. But like the dancing scene, the music kind of goes from like a happy dance to like back to disturbing tones again. It's good though, yeah.
I was kinda watching it this time because 'cause I've seen this probably 3 or 4 times, and it really the whole time I was thinking, "What if this entire cult, all they're doing is just watching these people?" Like, they're giving the illusion that they're doing other things, but at the end of the day, all they're doing is just watching these outsiders. Their every movement, they know exactly what they're talking about, they know everything, where it does feel like it's just a celebration. Everybody's got their part, they're making food, they're making, clothes or whatever, but
That's a part of the celebration is they had to sacrifice inside people, outsiders. That's why they allowed all these people to come. It's because it's part of the ritual.
Yeah.
yeah, I guess the way I'm looking at it is like for the first time you're seeing it, you're like, oh, this might actually be like an actual festival where they're doing other activities and they're not all just paying attention. But this time I was watching, I was like, what if the second this group of Danny and Christian, all of them come in, from the moment they get on that ground, every single person is just watching them and their every move. So they think like, oh, we're learning, we're whatever. But this entire
Mhm.
time they're just watching them walk into places, they're watching them talk, they're watching them just everything to how to manipulate them.
Well, it's almost like they knew who she was, because if you notice, there's a part where she's introduced to one of the older men,
Yeah.
and he shakes everybody's hand, he goes over her, and then he hugs her, and he looks at her and he goes, "Welcome home."
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. I also
Damn.
paid attention to her manners a lot in this film. She's really gets along with everybody. Whereas
Yes.
everyone else is very like accusing, like, I don't want to like, no, we're not doing like she very like intense, like not angry issues, but not acting like the community. She acts like them. And she's when they give her like the glass and the meat pies, she's like, thank you. And her manners are like she feels welcomed and she treats them
Mm.
with respect back, so it's like a handshake to them, like, oh, she could be one of us, kind of
Mhm.
more than
Damn.
these people that are just freaking out over small things.
Wow.
Mm.
Real outsiders where she was starting to really fit in.
Yeah, I completely missed that though. That line where he says "Welcome home."
I missed that
Yeah.
too, but I think of also there's a one scene where like they go to bake the meat pies and they grab her like, oh, come inside, and she's like laughing with them and like they like put the apron around her and she's like giggling. It's like,
Mm,
oh, she's really getting along with everyone in this group where everyone else is having issues. So
mm.
Yeah.
Well, everyone has their own ulterior motive except for her. She's really just there because she
right,
wants to just get didn't wanna be alone on her birthday. Everybody else is like, "We're trying to do a PhD project," or,
yeah, a
um
thesis and
yeah.
they're all like they're involved with their own stuff where like you stole my idea and one guy tries to steal the book or whatever and then
Mm.
The other guy's like freaking out, and he thinks one of the girls is hot.
He's just trying to get laid.
All these other people have these ideas in their head when she's just there, you
And she
know.
didn't even know why she was there because she said to Pele, "Why am I here? I don't even know why I'm here."
And at the end,
Yeah.
she wins the May Queen, but she
Mhm.
also wins it. And this is probably the part I like most, is that she wins without knowing how to win,
Right.
and she wins not really trying. So it's like she is something honestly special to this community, but is it maybe the community set her up? I don't know, but I think the opposite. I think she is special. I
Yeah,
don't know.
that's one of the theories that I read, that they did set her up, that they
Mm.
killed her family. And because if you look at one of the scenes where her parents are dead in bed, there's a flower crown and it's positioned over a photo of her. It's like a foreshadowing.
Really?
Yeah.
In the beginning?
Yeah,
Oh,
when her parents are laying there dead and the firefighters are in the room with them,
geez.
there's to the right of the bed, there's a photograph of her, and then on top of it, just hanging on it, is like a crown with yellow and white
Oh,
flowers.
What?
that might be something there.
Damn, I missed
Yeah,
that too.
Okay.
yeah,
There's a whole nother way to look at this movie. I didn't even think about that because I'm like, well, no, but the sister killed her parents. Like, wait, what if they just were messaging Danny and they did all of that? You know, like because Pele or whatever knows Christian, so he probably has been hearing all this stuff about Danny. Oh, Danny's got a bipolar sister. She's always threatening to kill herself. You know, so he's picking up on these things. So he might know how to manipulate her further.
right.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow. Damn, I missed that too.
Now I'm trying to think if there's any way that could they have brought her there, but no, I don't.
No, I think
No, I don't know.
it's, but just like, so like the whole cult idea, because they say this happens every 90 years, right? That was the,
Yeah,
Mhm.
so the last time this happened was like what, 1910-ish, 19 whatever.
but
When did this come out? 2019. So
yeah,
yeah, 1909.
but that doesn't really make sense then because it seems like whenever people get to be 72, is that when they
So
kill
no one else
themselves?
was around for the last Midsummer then, right?
Yeah.
There's no 90-year-olds in there.
Right, right.
Even
Right,
though
but
there are people that look older than 72 that were like, that person looks older than 72, but
and
so
then
no one's been around since the last. No one knows what the last one was like too, which is kind of a cool idea.
I'm just kind of confused because I feel like they would need to do this more often to keep it populated, you know? Because, like, if they're only, because it seems like the whole idea is they need to get outsiders so there's not too much incest, but the entire thing is being dictated by an incest child who's just writing probably gibberish and then they're just trying to decipher it. And that's what
Right.
they base their religion off of. So it's like,
Yeah, maybe it's just like a giant. I mean, look, no one's been around a festival like every couple of years or something. It's one thing. No one's been around since the last one, so it
no.
has to be some kind of telephone. No one knows how the last festival really went. They just know from these books and stuff, I guess. So it's like there's no way the last Midsummer Festival was the same as this one. No one's there to say, no, this is not how the last festival went. It's not like
Huh.
Burning Man, where it's like Burning Man. Like,
No.
no, Burning Man was different last year. Like,
No. Yeah. So these people, when you turn 72, then what do you do?
you give yourself so someone else can have birth in the commune, because you don't want to overpopulate the commune, but you also, I'm making shit up. I
You
don't
don't
know.
like want to burden them, so you throw
Yeah,
yourself off a cliff.
So does that mean that like no matter what, there's always going to be like a Dina in this? There's always going to be an Eric in this group, no matter what. Because
yeah,
when Eric
yeah,
dies, there's a new baby being born that they're going to
right.
name Eric.
Which is during the Midsummer, the people jumped off the cliff, which they also do not during Midsummer. They just do when they hit 72.
Right.
Yeah, right.
But maybe the Midsummer one is more of a real, like, ooh, this is the big baby being born, which is that whole ritual with Christian and the red haired one. So that must have been the big ritual that went into the May Queen, and the sacrifice essentially was Christian. So it's like, geez,
Hmm.
yeah, one of the sacrifices, but that's a lot to digest and think about. Like, to me, I would imagine it'd be like some kind of telephone between
Yeah.
these midsommers. But the 90-year thing, I read this, is there's a big thing with the number 9 and 90 years. Midsommar's 9 letters long. The beginning, Pell or whatever was talking about, oh, when you're 9 this, when you're 18 this, when you're 36 this, and then 72 is another multiple of 9. So it's like something's up
Oh,
with 9.
huh.
But
Interesting.
yeah, that was one thing I read online.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so much to look into this about. I mean, I wonder if places like this exist. I mean, if cults.
I think it's loosely based off of something, but not like this is an extreme version of it.
Well,
Yeah.
they've got a lot of Viking references, and apparently the Vikings are the ones that started the blood eagle ritual and
Ugh.
all
Yeah.
this stuff. So,
And the
Huh.
giving back before you get old, that was the thing. Whereas when Catholicism came in, it became like you're a savage, like if you do that stuff. So that kind of went away over the
mhm.
years.
I'm kind of curious why these people stay. Like, imagine you and a group of friends go somewhere and one of you just takes off. You'd be like, "Yo, we got to get out of here until we figure out." I mean, I don't know. It just feels like, why are they sticking around?
I was telling myself, putting myself in this position, like let's say I'm with you and we have a friend that we're really close with too, that is like, hey, you got to come to Sweden for this festival. It's like, okay, cool. It sounds like an Oktoberfest, and we can write about it with school and stuff. And we go there, and then this suicide thing happens, right? I think I would respect the suicide part, where I'd be like, okay, that's part of their culture. Okay, like I'd be like, okay, that's their thing. The mallet part, where they're hitting the
Mm,
head, I'd be like, I'm out. I'm out. No, 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 no,
mm.
no. This is weird. I think the culture aspect I would respect as much as I can, but the mallet thing was like, this is a little bit too much for me, and then I'd leave at that part.
Hmm.
So I kind of think like if I was put in that situation, it's like, like what do you do? And that one guy was like, what the? He's freaking
Yeah,
out. I mean, yeah, I would be a really off put. Where like, do I just leave? Like, what do you do in that scenario?
because you're
The
stuck out in the middle of
Y-
Sweden, nowhere, you know?
yeah, the mallet part is I'm out. I'm getting very far away. But before that, it's like this is a sacred place. Like I don't want to rustle feathers, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I was trying to put myself in the position, but would try to get out of there very fast. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
But they
What would have
wouldn't let you leave. They were killing everybody that was trying to leave,
I
you know?
yeah.
I know. I think it's like you got to be like, guys, we just got to walk. Then, if they're not going to willing to drive us, we got to walk. And then if they start like, then they're like, oh, we got to kill these guys. Then you just run. But I don't know. I think their youth gets shown very early because the fact is, right when they get to Sweden, this guy's like, "Hey, I got mushrooms." Immediately, they don't even know where they're staying. They don't know anything, and they're just like, "Yeah, let's do
Mm.
psychedelic drugs right now. Like we're jet lagged. We're in a foreign country. We don't know where we are. Let's do that."
Well, I
Like
think
pretty
the
much.
craziest part was at the end when Christian was given that glass of the drug juice,
Yeah,
and he just like, "Nah, I'm gonna have a bad trip," and he takes it anyway. It's like, dude, what are you doing? Like that is
Right.
a recipe for disaster, which it is. But like that to me was like, get out of there, and I don't know to all these characters, but like you said, they didn't let them leave, and they did a very good job with the stories for the most part. Some I'd be like, there's no way, which is what they were acting like. There's no way he would, with Connie or whatever her name was. There's no way he would just leave me without telling me. It felt very real, that conversation. The other one with the book, it's like where they have the book still
yeah,
clearly,
yeah,
but they acted like it was stolen,
Yeah,
which
what
that story was very clever where they're like, he tried to steal it, we killed him, we're going to pretend he stole it and ran away,
yeah,
okay.
so that Christian gets mad at that, disassociates with him, and also is mad because he's like, he just stole the book and is going to write this thesis now. Like that's so messed up, and it
yeah,
puts him in a bad light too. So he feels like these people probably hate us. So it really paints the like, oh no, they didn't kill them. Like
I didn't
that
even get that. Let
that's a
they
very believable story. That
yeah.
one.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, because they even say they're like, the house will be unwatched, unguarded. You can put it there, and no one will know. Like, and they all know. Well, we killed that guy, and we have the book. But yeah, you're right, Eric. They're doing it so that Christian thinks like that motherfucker stole the book,
Yeah.
and I bet he's going to,
Yeah,
he
and he
didn't
was
want me
like
to
he
learn.
wants to write a better thesis than me. That's why he
Yeah,
stole the book, like stuff like that. So, and he technically was stealing the book with the pictures, but they made it seem like the book was still missing and
yeah,
all that stuff, which is like, damn. But
Yeah, I totally missed that. I couldn't figure out why they were talking about that, about it being missing. I'm
it
like,
wasn't missing. They had it.
right,
They were
yeah,
okay.
just coming up with a story to make the friends feel like, oh, he really did book it.
Right, right.
One thing I have no idea, like the incest child,
the
I don't
Mm.
know
Oracle.
how old that.
The Oracle.
Yeah, the Oracle, who's clearly like finger painting,
Right.
but they're like their way of thinking about that was like he's clear of all. I forgot the town.
Yeah,
They use like a word where it's just like he has no
yeah,
bad stuff about him. It's like wow, that's like crazy
Yeah, it was
to
so
take it
sick.
that way.
And
Yeah, no, but I just didn't understand. Like there's that scene with like the mating scene with all the
mhm.
women. Then there's that oracle at like the top, like listening to it. So I think that was the part where I'm like, I don't understand what the hell that's about. But I was trying to think like, is there more reason behind this character? But didn't really pan out. There wasn't a lot at the end about that character, which I thought there was going to be more. But yeah,
I was gonna say, what was the guy's name that was taking the pictures of the book and he just like when they told him not to? What was his name again? Josh?
I think it's Josh. Yeah.
Josh, okay. And when he was the older gentleman was explaining to him about the oracles and how, the inbreeding and how they're clear and everything, and he's like looking at him. Well, you think it's clicking, and he's thinking, "These people are fucked." But then he asks if he can look at the book. So it's like
well, no,
that you
he was looking at this book of finger paintings and stuff. He has
oh,
to take a
right, okay.
picture of it, and
Okay,
they're
okay,
like,
that's what it was,
absolutely not,
picture,
because
yeah,
they knew the boundary of like you can look at this book, but when you leave this community, no one's
right,
gonna really believe you because
right.
it's that out of the ordinary. However, you take pictures and they see all that, and I mean, it's an amazing thesis he has brewing, like what
Oh,
these
yeah.
people are doing. It's like these people believe that like someone with like an incest illness is like pride of their community. It's like out of this world to think about, but
Mm.
it's kind of interesting, which is why he's like his mind's racing. Like, I gotta report, like I gotta like write this thing. This is gonna take me to levels in my life of my thesis and stuff. He's probably like running with it, which he does, and
Yeah.
he gets murdered.
You got greedy. You got
Yeah.
greedy.
Hmm.
So do you have a favorite part, Mom, or is it like a most intense part, moment that sticks with you the most?
Well, I really loved Danny's character. I thought that was it Florence Pugh?
Yeah.
Yep.
She's an amazing actress. I mean,
Yeah.
just like mind-blowing. I like the very end when she's in that beautiful flower
Yeah.
gown and the very, very end, she's hysterical, and then all of a sudden she smiles.
Yeah.
And it's like it all clicked. I'm home. This is where I'm meant to be. I don't know. I think I really like that part.
You know what it reminded me of? I don't know if it reminded you of that too, but almost the ending of Clockwork Orange, where it's
Oh,
just
yeah.
he's just kind of like, "I'm fixed," or like,
Yeah.
and
A little bit.
it is kind of like a weird shot. It's white, it's kind of in slow motion, and then just it ends, and you're like, "Oh."
Yeah.
Yeah, the ending is great. I wanna talk a little bit more about the ending too, but Eric, what's your favorite part?
I mentioned it before, but the sobbing scene, because we see like the community always replicating people moaning and screaming in pain and stuff like that. When the guy doesn't die, when he falls, they're all like screaming with him. Like in the sex scene, the mating scene, you hear all the moaning they're doing and the singing. And then when she's having a PTSD attack slash anxiety mental breakdown, they're with her and moaning with her. I just think that's a powerful scene where I think that's where she clicks into getting cured of her grief.
Mhm.
Yeah.
How about
Yeah,
you,
no.
Alec? What's your favorite?
It's weird. I don't think I have like a favorite part. I mean, the part that stands out to me the most is when the two older people kill themselves. I think that's like the Charlie head getting her head cut off equivalent
Yeah.
in Hereditary. It's this like very shocking moment that comes out of nowhere. That scene probably stands out the most, but overall, I think it's just so well shot. You feel gross when it's over, but
Mm.
I think it's such a pretty movie considering how dark the content actually is and how bright it is the whole time. It's a horror movie that's all, for the most part, in the brightest, sunniest, most beautiful meadow. I mean, it's kinda
Yeah. That's
contrasting to
the
when
irony about it, you know what I mean?
yeah. It's not the Shining hotel, it's not a creepy lake with thunderstorms before Jason comes
Mhm.
and kills you. It's a beautiful field.
Yeah.
There's also an extended edition. I'm
Yeah,
not sure if I'm ever gonna watch that, but
I
I heard it's
know.
like an NC-17 rating or
Really?
something. It's like
Yep.
way more disgusting
I was
and
gonna bring that up.
disturbing.
It's 3
Yeah.
hours long, and, A24 made Ari Aster cut it because I guess it was too long. They're like, "Yeah, you gotta cut down."
He did comment on something about it where I think the extended edition showed a lot of shots of the sun, and this
Mm.
has no shots of the sun. And he's like, I kind of like that better where, the sun was never in it. So it's like a movie all about the sun and the summer solstice, but you never see the sun. So it's kind of like, wow, that's interesting. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, the last quick things I just wanna mention too, that was one thing I wanted to mention is the longer version, Eric, but the reason I like A24 so much is because same with the guy that directed The Witch and, The Lighthouse,
Mm.
Mhm.
they give these guys the freedom to just build everything on that set was built. They built that from the ground up for this movie, and especially the room where they all sleep in. I was like, this looks like so much work went into this. And
It's
then
a
Yeah.
lot of detail. Yeah.
and then they had to light that house on fire at the end too, and I thought that shot was incredible where it goes on her face and you see it just
Ugh.
collapse, and I was like, "Oh my god, love
Yeah, but
that."
like that guy, the one of the mark or whatever with the jester hat. I'm like, oh my god, and the sticks
That
coming out of
yeah.
their arms like scarecrows. I'm like, this is so bad.
The
Like,
Well,
thing that got me is when the guy came in, the Ingmar and the other person in the cult, they were the sacrifices,
yeah.
and they were sitting on hay bales, and he came in and he said, "This is from the yew tree to take away your pain. No pain."
didn't work.
No. And then he went to the other guy and he said, "This is for the from the yew tree to take away your fear."
Hmm.
I mean, why? Why tell this guy he's not gonna feel pain and then he does, you know? What was that about?
I think it's a part of like just purifying their community. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
It's a messed up movie.
It's a bad
It's
taste,
very
but
messed up.
it's
Yeah.
good.
I
It's good.
I gotta say, last thing though, just why is the Academy overlooking this guy? I mean, none of the actors got nominated for anything for Hereditary or this. I mean, Toni Collette in Hereditary, that's Oscar worthy performance.
Yeah.
And
Well,
Yeah.
those are family friendly
it doesn't
shows
matter.
for the
It
most
shouldn't matter.
part.
But
Where
that aside, also the set for this movie that also deserves to get some credit.
costume design, I mean,
The
anything.
Yeah, the
costume design
cinematography.
is so good in this movie. I mean, I saw online that apparently it was so meticulous that they didn't use anything that could have been made after the year 1900. So every single piece of clothing in that movie at the camp or whatever is all stuff that only could have been made before the year 1900. So
Huh.
they didn't use any machines. They used all only material they could have gotten back then. So they sewed it the way it was made back then. So just like the effort that goes into that, the effort to building it, the incredible writing, the incredible cinematography. I mean, like, why the hell isn't this getting any recognition? Same with Hereditary. I don't
Why do
get it.
you think?
Because it's breaking a barrier that people aren't comfortable with and they don't want to recognize it. I think. I don't
I
know.
Hmm.
mean, regardless of what the content is, you need to respect this as like an actual piece of art.
It
And
Yeah.
is, yeah.
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think the Academy is a lot of like politics and stuff like that, but these two movies, the fact that they haven't got nominated, it hurts my thought about the Academy because I'm like, what is wrong with you guys? These movies
I
are
would say this one over Hereditary to get award recognition, but
anything. Zero
yeah.
zero nominations for either film. So it
Yeah,
doesn't make sense.
and Florence Pugh was amazing
Yeah,
actress too. I mean,
I
Yeah.
can't think of a better wailing
no.
acting, like sobbing, like that was intense.
Very
Yeah.
So
intense, so real and raw.
yeah,
It's just all the time people say like, "Oh, like Silence of the Lambs, knocked down the wall for horror films to get nominated." I don't think that's true. I mean, it did,
in the '90s maybe, yeah,
but that's the thing. It's like now we're in
early '90s.
2021 and horror movies are just getting completely, Get Out got nominated. And I love Get Out, no shitting on Get Out, but, like, the fact that that got nominated and these didn't get any recognition, it just doesn't
Yeah.
make sense. It doesn't make sense.
I mean, do you know if A24 is ever nominated? Is that
Oh,
just like
yeah.
maybe the studio? Okay.
They definitely are nominated, but I don't know. They haven't won Best Picture, I don't think.
Hmm.
But anyways, does anybody have any last minute thoughts on Midsummer?
I'm
No.
looking forward to winter after this one. That's what I'll say.
Alright, what do you say spin the wheel there,
I'm
Eric?
gonna spin the wheel. Dina, thanks for joining. This was
Thanks for
fun.
having me. It was fun. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, I was gonna thank you after we spin. Now I'm an asshole.
Now you're an asshole. Yeah, now I'm gonna spin the wheel. Spinning. Oh boy. This is quite the pivot. Piranha 3D.
Oh, okay, so is this we're doing the 3D one
The
from
3D.
2010?
We're doing the
Oh
3D one.
boy.
We're doing
Okay.
Do
the
you guys
3D.
have glasses for that?
No, I don't even know if it like does it. How does that work? We'll figure it
Nah,
out. We'll
yeah,
have to figure it out. But
it doesn't matter.
it's on the wheel. We gotta make it happen.
Alright, well, Mom, thank you very much. This was great to have you on.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we'll get you on again, too, if there's another movie that you wanna pick in October, because we got a lot to do, so.
Okay, sounds good.
Alright, well, thank you everybody so much for listening in. We have another episode of Fresh Film Fridays coming up this Friday, and next Monday we will see you with Piranha.